You know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Google signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing big things.
Welcome back, everyone, to the newest edition of Once a Week. I'm Billy Jan Ludis, and as you can see, we are bringing you another incredible guest, someone who I came across recently and knew that her message would resonate so well with you and our entire channel. Our guest today is an incredible speaker with over 25 years of experience facilitating and impacting audiences, gracing the stages for businesses, for students, for entrepreneurs, and even TedX. And with each audience, she leaves them with new knowledge on how to create success in their lives, but also become the confident leader they know that they are meant to be at their core. And on top of all that, she is the author and podcast host. Guys, I'm telling you, I'm only touching on the tip of the iceberg with the impact that she brings and everything that she's accomplished, but we're about to dive into every single aspect of it. I welcome in, and I'm so grateful to have her here, Desiree Cocroft. Desiree, welcome to the show. I can't wait.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here, Billy.
Yeah, no, it's a blast. I know short notice. We kind of connected the other day. But,
exactly.
right? Yeah, but stars align. We'll say that, right?
Exactly. I think so too.
Yeah. But I've been seeing your messages pop up, and it's so impactful to me. And I know it's impactful to so many people. With all the work you've done, as much as we're going to touch on it, where does your story begin? How did you even get into this whole process?
I love that question. So actually, my very first job, I was 17 years old, and one of my teachers said, hey, there's this job I think you'd be really good for. And it was to be a teen mentor for a middle school, like higher elementary school age program, so like 10 through 15-year-olds. And I was teaching them self-esteem, healthy relationships, self-image, decision making. And for whatever reason, in small and large group facilitation, I really felt like I was in my genius zone. And even though I was a teenager still learning all those topics myself, it definitely gave me the opportunity to see what it looks like from the outside looking in on someone having that self-discovery. And I knew then that one, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Two, that I wanted to be able to help people fulfill their fullest potential. And I wanted to start off with youth. And that's basically what I started off with, like most of my career. The first 15 years of my career was doing youth work and nonprofit, my own nonprofit that me and two friends started. So I have a nonprofit dance company in Milwaukee, Wisconsin that's still currently there. This is our 20th year in business. Wow. And then I have also did a lot of work in financial literacy for high school kids. I did work with girls programming. I did work with college and career advising for not just high school students, but also first generation college students. And so I had a lot of opportunity to do work with youth. And in about 2018, I took that leap to transition from nonprofit into the corporate world and into more consulting work. So I've been doing leadership coaching, training, and all of that pretty much full time since 2018, in addition to still making sure that the nonprofit is still going. So that's like a really quick synopsis.
Right? Yeah. No, I love that because there's overlap to my story, believe it or not, in the sense of I started as a mentor as well up here in Boston, Massachusetts. I was a therapeutic mentor right out of college in the psych field. And the goal of obviously helping kids and teenagers and families with the therapy aspect, but the source of that was the self-esteem and helping build their confidence, their decision-making skills, their leadership ability. And that was my wheelhouse. And I took that into my coaching, into my speaking, but youth is where it all started for me as well. So I love that connection right there.
I love that. That's a perfect connection. 100%. I mean, they got us early.
Exactly, right? But that's the beauty of it. The ball starts rolling and I can see just in how the quick little synopsis of your story, how it started in such a way, but you saw the key qualities and you built on that. But now that you're speaking to all these different ages and audiences, you're helping grow those qualities in so many people. Your audience is huge. When you are speaking on leadership to these businesses and entrepreneurs for that matter, I love it because you saw that in yourself and you started pursuing that with a nonprofit. Do you ever get little glimpses of like, wow, I'm here now because you've taken those steps, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was just sharing with someone the other day that, one day you are wondering when that dream life is going to happen, when you're going to get to that destination. And then you look up and you're living in the thing that you said you
Right.
desired to see. And
Mm,
I've always seen myself as someone that spoke to audiences to help people fulfill their fullest potential. And so to get that feedback from people has been awesome. But I think even more so, internally being able to see it for myself and being
mm,
able to affirm myself that you are where you've always desired to be and you created this. I feel like that has been really rewarding, so to speak, over the last couple of years, but specifically just in the present moment.
mm,
Because sometimes, you know, as life goes on, and I'm sure you experience this too, Billy, like you feel like, am I ever going to get to this? Am I ever going to get
right.
to that? And that's kind of like the talk track of a higher achiever that
It's
we're
true.
always looking for that gold sticker or that
Right.
star that tells us we made it to a milestone. But being able to really savor the moment of you are where you need to be right now, and this is what you actually created for yourself
Right.
years back. It just makes me appreciate the present a lot more and being able
Yeah.
to really enjoy the journey.
For sure. Oh, I love that. And it's
Mhm.
so true. So for people listening right now, you got to check up on yourself every so often. You got to,
Yeah,
as Desiree just put it, find yourself in the present moment. And I love that because so often we're living so far into the future. And if we do that too often, we find anxiety. We find worry
absolutely.
because we're never really the achiever that we want to be. And yet in the present moment, we've achieved so much. And if we stay so far in the past, if we stay there too long, we tend to find worry or depression. Even we find
Mm,
negativity because we can't go back. But when we
yeah,
bring the pieces together in the present moment, you realize, like, oh my goodness, I prayed for this, or I asked for this, or I
mm,
tried to manifest this, and here I am. And you might not be at the end of the tunnel, but you're a
yeah,
lot farther along the way. But if we're trying to rush there, we miss out on the blessings along the way. And it sounds like
yeah.
that's where you find yourself, as you said, the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I love what you just said. Like, we miss out on the blessing along the way. And I think it's
Mhm.
missing out on the things that we've learned, the people that we've met. And we're so quick to just get to a milestone, especially as high achievers. We're so quick to get to a milestone because we've been trained to do that the way that we've been raised, how
Right.
education is set up is like get to the next level, get to the next level. And even how jobs are set up is get to the next level, keep getting promoted. You forget about the lessons, the
Hmm.
experiences, the opportunities that you get here and how it can really be beneficial to your now. And
Right.
so I'm doing a lot better at just being okay with the present and just taking it slow,
Yeah.
like I mean, I know, just in that entrepreneurship life and just being a leader, we can be in this hamster wheel of going,
Sure.
going, going, that it's been normalized. And honestly, this has like been a year for me. This has been so I've always worked full time and had a side business, whether it's my nonprofit or doing consulting. This is the third time that I've taken the leap from
Mm,
working 9 to 5 into working in my own business. One time it was because I wanted to go back to school, so I did
mhm,
part time work. And then the second time was because I was the executive director of my nonprofit. So instead of working full time and running the nonprofit, I quit and did the nonprofit work. And so now it has been leaving my full time corporate gig, them being a client of mine now, and now
mm.
being able to be a consultant on my own. And in this season, I've been calling it the year coming back to myself.
Perfect. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, coming back to
Yeah.
what I know is true for me. And
Yep.
one of the parts about coming back to myself has been a lot about all the things that I've known about business. Like, I went to school for business, even though I
Mhm.
went to nonprofit first. That had always been what I desired to do, is go to school for business. So I went to school for business, started a business at 23, did work in corporate, and now doing this consultant business since about 2012.
Mm.
And I realized that all of the things out here in these internet streets and the real streets
Yeah.
will
Right.
have you hustling all the time.
True.
And it's because we live in a world where, we've been grown up to just hustle and bustle. Like,
Right.
this is just the society that we lived in. And I'm kind of like going against the grain. I'm like, no,
Yep.
there are people doing things easier. There are people that are
Yeah.
still enjoying their life as they grow. And so I'm just practicing slowing down. And that has
Yeah.
been a challenge.
It
I
ha-
do it for, I tell my clients to slow down. And now I'm
Yep.
challenging myself
It's
to
awesome.
slow down.
Yeah. Right. It's honestly in our society,
Yeah.
it's probably the toughest thing for people to do is to
Yeah.
slow down. And what's the age old saying? Smell the roses. Basically, we're rushing ahead,
Yeah.
right? And I find clients doing that, but I even find it in myself. And you're a
Yeah.
fellow speaker just as much. You've probably experienced this, like even earlier this year, because it's definitely been a year for me where it's trying to fully embrace the slowing down aspect and allow yourself
Mm,
to realize you've come so far.
yeah.
And I'm a spiritual person. It's at the end
Yeah.
of the day, it's not in our hands. So to sit
Yeah.
there and not try to force it or try and control it and
Oh
push
my
it whatever
goodness.
way, that's difficult for humans to do. But if we sit there and realize, like, all right, if I take a step back, I can allow it to form the way it's meant to. The more I do that, the more I might look crazy to people in the sense of I'm not completely hustling, as you said. But
Mm-hmm.
some days you got to let your energy come back to you so you have enough energy for the door that's trying to open for you. And when we can step
Mm,
through that door, that's when it's like, oh my goodness, this is it. And you have everything you need because it was provided for you. That's
yeah.
kind of a deeper perception of it. But there's been speaking gigs early this year for myself. This is probably like early of the year, probably January, February. I did the gig and I did my best to try and live in the moment without trying to, all right, on to the next one, and
Right.
just try to expand. And that, like, I think that's everyone in every industry, but you as a
Yeah.
speaker, it sounds like you're working on it just as much, where you want to be able to feel it. You want to feel the
Yeah.
joy that you achieve this. You want to feel the love. And for people listening or watching right now, it does, like, we're talking about like our initial experiences, but that could be anyone, whether it's a
Mm,
success at work, maybe a success in the gym, a success with your family. We have to slow down for at least a moment and be able to experience the joys that we are living, because that's
yeah.
the point of us being here. It wasn't just to
Yeah.
make money, it was to experience life. And so when we take a step back, you realize, like, oh, I can try and focus on this area and I actually achieve more if I take a step back and calculate how can I move forward, right?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love everything that you're saying. I'm like so excited. I'm getting goosebumps because in
That's
my
awesome.
mind, well, because in my mind, I think that there has been this saying over the years that you need to work less to make more
Mhm.
or work less to enjoy more. And I think that I'm truly starting to understand the concept
Mm,
more now than ever before. So when I left my job full time, it's been almost a year. So I left my job full time. When I
nice.
was working full time, my business made almost 80 grand while I was
Nice.
working full time.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the amount that I made did not cause me to have to do 40 hours a week. Obviously, I was
Mm,
working full time. So like this was just in my other time.
mm,
And all of the busy techniques that people were teaching me to do, I did none of those to accumulate that.
mm. I
Like
get you.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like the easiest things. It was like me being obedient to that internal knowing to do something
Right.
and
Mm,
doing it.
yeah.
So I just did a post today about how I let go of an opportunity that someone came to me with. It was
Hmm.
a contract opportunity that was supposed to be, upwards of six figures, and I said no to it because it would have caused me to grind. It
Mm,
would
yep.
have not been something that I would have been able to have the capacity to do without feeling burnt out. And like as a speaker and anybody listening, you know what it takes
Mm,
to be either a speaker as a keynote or a speaker in the form of training and consulting. There is not just a level of expertise that comes from you, but there's also a level of energy
right.
that you are giving to your audience, that if you do stuff back to back, and I have been in that back to back life, and I'm sure you have too,
Right. Hmm.
and if you're traveling on top of that, you will be depleted.
It's
And
true.
I immediately felt my shoulders getting like really tight, and I just started shaking a little bit when I was trying to contemplate whether or not I was going to take this. And I'm like, this is an
Mm,
immediate no. As
yeah.
much as it is the work that I love doing, as
Hmm.
much as I know it would have been exciting to take on and to be able to say, we have to check our egos, to
Right.
be able to say, I got a contract for this amount and I get to do what I love, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that's all fine and well. But if I know on that other side, I know the cost
Right. Hmm.
of doing it. And I think a
Exactly.
lot of times we don't count the cost of doing it. And I am learning more and more just the value of counting the cost of whatever. And like you said, this can be counting the cost of making a financial decision, counting the cost of something in our business, counting
Hmm.
the cost of what this could do to a relationship, all the things, like really just counting the cost has
Yep.
been like something that has come up for me even more. And I think me slowing down, if I was not in this active time of slowing down, I would have
Mhm.
said yes,
Mm,
because
I get
I
you.
would have been on that hamster wheel of yep, 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 yep. And that's the problem. We're so busy, we
Yeah.
don't stop and actually allow ourselves to see what's happening.
Exactly. Right. Oh, I love all of that. No, and there's a couple key points that I want to make sure our audience grabbed right there. Just with what you just touched on itself, is one, like we touched on, coming back and being able to, hey, take a second for yourself. But at the same time, more often than not, when we let go of this incredible opportunity, this could fix so much, this is it, but
Mhm.
you know in your heart that this is going to do more harm to me than anything, much like you just described.
Mhm.
When we let go of that, 10 times out of 10, usually an even better opportunity is waiting around the corner and what we were
100.
supposed to go for. So that's the first one I want people to grab. But you did something absolutely incredible in that explanation, Desiree, and you changed your terminology, and I love it. So I want people to rewind what you said and catch this, because prior to that question, us diving into that, you were using the term hustle and
Mhm.
being able to hustle to our dreams. But in that description, you explained that when it turns from hustling to grinding, the
Mhm.
term grinding means grinding into dust.
Yeah.
And we now have a terminology in the world where, oh, I'm grinding to my goals.
Oh my gosh.
Right? And to every Monday, wake up, you go after, you grind to your goals. But at the same time, if we're using the definition of that, that means I'm turning myself into dust trying to get there rather than hustling.
Mhm.
Hustling is a different terminology, more empowering terminology.
Mhm.
And you perfectly word that together. So people take that into account. Are you grinding to your goals? Are you hustling to your goals? Hustling
Mhm.
implies, yes, using your energy in the same form, but still keeping track of yourself. Grinding means I'm not keeping track of myself. I'm going to turn
Mm.
myself into dust trying to get there. I know that
Yeah.
people overlook those concepts, but you perfectly worded that. So I
Right.
appreciate that. And people need to rewind it, go for it. But Desiree, I love that. And
Yeah.
right, it's perfect. And leading into some other areas I wanted to touch on with people, it kind of goes hand in hand, and being able to hustle towards all these goals that you've achieved, being able to take time for yourself. The book that you wrote, actually the
Mhm.
couple of books that you wrote, Get Your Life Today, it sounds like these concepts, or even the successful hacks, the books that you have, I
Mhm.
want you to dive into that for people, because it sounds lined up perfectly with the hustle aspect and being able to achieve your dreams. Is there a component in there where, like, hey, you gotta keep track of yourself, keep
Yeah.
going, keep track of yourself? Tell us about your books.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I love that you said books plural. So one is a journal and one is a book, but it comes
Okay.
together. But I feel like you're prophesying today. Like
Let it ride.
I have other books in me.
Right, exactly,
I have other
100%.
books in me. So that's good. That's good. I need to get to writing some more. So yeah, so get your life today, 7 success hacks for life, leadership, and business. One of the things, I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the things that was on my mind is that mastering confidence has been really big in terms of the way that I've helped some of my clients and what I tend to get asked the
Mm,
most about in terms of advice or how I should do something. And so in my book, Get Your Life Today, the first thing I say is that, hey, we need to become the biggest version of ourselves. But
mm,
the only way to become the biggest version of yourself is for you to know what
yeah,
is the biggest version of
right?
me. And a
Define
lot
it.
of us know what that biggest version is because it's the person that we see ahead of us,
Mm,
instead of recognizing that the person ahead of us is the person that you are right now.
exactly.
It just
Mm,
has not, it was gone to sleep, right? It's
right?
on break, it's on nap, it's on
Yeah,
nap time,
for
right?
sure.
And so really digging into your being. So I do a lot of work around like getting into what your being is.
Mm,
And so right after that, I talk about confidence comes when you decide. We get to make a decision. And I
mm,
think a lot of the problems that we may be facing in our life is because we're not making the decision that we would make if we were standing in our confidence, right? Confidence
mm,
is really about full of trust.
right.
Are we fully trusting ourselves? Are we fully trusting our decision making? Or I'm sure many that are listening, and I'm sure you have been guilty as I have too, of overthinking.
Right.
And a lot of times we're overthinking because we don't trust ourselves, or we are stuck in this fear that the decision that we're going to make is going to be this big consequence that we don't want to experience.
Mm,
When a lot of times we're making up stuff in our heads. I call
right.
it the lie, the truth, and the proof. So I talk about this in my book too, that there are lies in our head, these limiting beliefs that these things are going to happen if we don't. And
Mm,
so, how can we expose the lie instead of letting it be rent free in our heads,
mm,
right?
right.
And then really articulate, well, what is the truth? Well, the truth is, maybe you know what it is that you already need to do. Maybe whatever that truth really is, and we can just reframe our thoughts from what we keep hearing in our heads and focus in on what is true.
Mm,
And we have proof. a lot of times what we've experienced in our other experiences in life are proof of that what we are thinking is actually what the direction we ought to be going. If you already had other successes in your life and you didn't die,
Yeah.
then whatever
Right.
you're thinking about, I'm pretty sure it's fine.
Yeah.
Or you have other people in your life that have been able to accomplish it. You can take somebody else's story as proof that, well, if they can do it, I can do it too.
Yep.
And just using all of that information to really help us actively rewire our minds,
Yep.
rewire our thoughts, get that neuroscience going, right? Really just creating new pathways, new neural
Exactly.
pathways so that we can have new thoughts and normalize a different way of thinking. And
Right.
so that is really the biggest thing that I end up talking about a lot. And I talk about that in the book. The very first couple of chapters is really about how is that biggest version of you coming out? Who is that person? And how can you confidently just decide this is who you're going to be?
Right.
This is who I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to define my success. And this is how I'm going to make a path for what I actually desire to have. And I think it's really important that we master our confidence
Right.
versus feeling like going back to hustle or
Yep.
grinding or what have you. We can get into the hustle or bustle, or what I call just doing the do, like kind of like
Yeah.
Mountain Dew. We just
Yeah.
get into this this sense of just doing.
Right.
And sometimes what we are doing is staying busy and busy enough to be distracted from the thing that we actually need to do.
Right.
And if we would do the thing that we actually need to do, we would probably cut out a
Right.
lot of the other fluff that we are doing, the fluff that we're seeing, the fluff that we're buying, the fluff that we're paying attention to, that we're consuming our minds with, is really a distraction. Because
Sure.
if we stood in our confidence, it's like one answer.
Yeah.
It's really
Very.
just one.
Yeah.
Like facts. Like
Right.
even just being presented with the opportunity that I talked about a few minutes ago, the answer is no. Move on.
Yeah.
It takes confidence to say no to something like that.
True.
And to be able to say no versus, imagine, Billy, if I overthought that.
Right.
If I would have entertained it, I would have been frustrated. I would have wasted so much time trying to put all this stuff together for something I know is a no.
Right.
When
Yeah.
now I have freed my energy up, freed my time up to receive the thing that is actually for me.
Exactly.
And it's some freedom in that. So that's why my confidence is a big thing. And it's not something that we create it by just making the decision, that just being full of trust about the thing that we desire.
Yeah. Oh no, I echo everything that you're touching on. It's so powerful. So people listening, watching, take hold of this. If you're someone that you struggle with your confidence, yes, you can go grab the book today, and that can be your action step. As Desiree just touched on, in creating new neural pathways. We've touched here on the channel before, whether soul messages or other guests, the power of the unconscious and subconscious and conscious mind. And when we are so routinely based, as we are as humans, to follow a certain route, we're going to make the same decisions over and over and over again. And we're going to get the same results over and over and over again. But when we take a new decision or make a new decision, much like Desiree was just touching on, you create a new neural pathway, and it's going to feel weird at first. But then when you realize, there might be some fear in having to make a new decision, but when you make the decision and you're like, I didn't die. Oh my goodness, this is okay. I'm not lost. Right? Exactly. Nothing failed. Okay. You gain a little bit of confidence, and then again, a little bit of confidence. And then now your confidence is building tremendously, but now you can do things you didn't think you could do because you believe in yourself, and it's built on your belief systems. I think back for our stories to align very well in the sense that we help teenagers. I can remember a client I had way back when, and he was terrified. He had never paid for his own food before. It was just never happens. Like something as simple as us going to the grocery store and paying for, say, hey, hello to the cash register, everything like this. He was terrified to do so. And so I walked him through it, and just watching him go through it when it's something he's never done, you see someone going through the process of his heart pounding. He doesn't know what to do. And it's such a simple process to pay the cashier and so on and so forth. And so we broke it down. And there was one time I said, all right, man, I'm going to be right next to you. We're going to go through the process. You're going to get through it. No worries. And so I'm sitting there, I'm watching him go through it. I'm not helping him. I don't want to step in at all. He got through it. We walk out of the store. I go, hey, can I ask you something? Did you survive? Are you okay? And he goes, yeah, of course. Why? Why do you ask that? I was like, because it's not as bad as you thought it would be. And look at you. If you did it once, you can do it again. And then you see in a kid's aspect, the confidence grow. But I say that example to people listening right now because I echo everything Desiree touched on, where whatever your little decision or little step could be, could open up the door to all of the great dreams that you want, all the great dreams that you have and that you're meant to achieve. Because as she touched on, your being, your best self, your highest self, your confident self is trying to help you achieve all of these goals that you have, but you got to get there. And it's not separate. You are that person, but to
Yeah.
believe you are that person is what opens the door for you to achieve all of that. So it starts in here. So Desiree, I echo everything that you touched on right there. And I want people to go grab your book because right,
Oh,
it
yay.
opens the door. And I
Yeah.
usually ask this at the end of the talk, but I'm going to ask you right now, where can they find your book? I'm going to say it again at the end, but since we touched on it right there.
Yeah, absolutely. They can find my book on Amazon, on Amazon.
That's awesome.
Amazon. They can find it on Amazon.com, but it's also on Barnes and Noble. If they search it, they'll be able to find it. But it's
Okay.
usually people get it from Amazon.
Yeah,
Thank you for asking. Yep.
of
Get your life
course.
today. That's
That's
what it is.
perfect.
Yeah.
No,
But
like
I
I
wanted to
want
touch on something that you said because this
yep,
is good. I was thinking about how like confidence, like you were saying, it's this belief in ourselves, but our belief doesn't matter unless we take action. And that's why it's like confidence comes when you decide, and deciding something is not just something in your mind, it's an action. When you
yeah.
decide not to do something, it's an action to be still. When you decide to do something, it's an action to take movement. Either
Mm,
way, you are making a decision. The action, there is action and inaction. Like you're not
right.
doing anything, that's your choice. And so it's something to be said that when you decide that I'm full of trust, this is what I'm going to do, just like the student that you had, right?
Yep.
It's like the cycle of self-doubt has to stop when you take an action, right? It
Yeah,
has to stop. And I
exactly.
loved what you said. I wanted to point out so that people listening could also take it in, is that what you did was important, but having that person really think about what happened. Like, what
Yes,
did
right.
you just experience? We
Yeah,
don't do that enough. And
true.
we think that it was some pie in the sky or some magic bean that was just a lucky day, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't a lucky day. You made a decision.
Exactly.
Feel how you feel after making that decision. Ask yourself, did the story I told myself, was the narrative true? It wasn't true.
Yeah.
And lock that in, because that is a neuroscience thing, right? You can
Mhm.
lock it, you got to lock it in. But a
Exactly.
lot of times we don't lock it in, kind of like you were talking about when we speak somewhere, being able to soak it in
Exactly.
and be able to take in those feelings and have a level of satisfaction, create those positive emotions. And so, like, even when we're doing something that we have not done before, or doing something that we've done before, but maybe it's been a long time, or something
Right.
that we were nervous about, locking in on when you completed it, you got to lock in all those feelings, because this is what's
True.
telling your mind that, oh, I didn't die. Like, it was
Yeah.
fine. I can do this again. Like, you got to
Right.
have that proof to yourself. So I wanted to make sure I
Exactly.
went back because that was good. I like
That's
that.
awesome. No, I appreciate
Yeah.
that, and I hope people take that and grab that because there's so much. We have personal power, but it's a matter
Mm-hmm.
of using, it. And that's the beauty of being a coach and a speaker because we get to help people in those moments. And once they learn it once, and maybe learn it twice, it's cemented in. And when it's cemented in,
Yeah.
that person's life changes tremendously because now they're in control. Their life is no longer dictated by their environment, their society, by their relationships or whatever. They are in control, guiding their life where they want it to be. And that's confident living, knowing that you're directing where you want to be. But I love it. I love it all, Desiree. There's another big question I want to touch on too is, you have a key aspect of helping women and organizations release resistance to adopt successful leadership strategies. That's a key goal of yours with every gig that you have. I want to touch on that because releasing resistance is tough
Mm-hmm.
for people. I know in some ways we kind of touched on that a little bit with our
Yeah.
talk already. But when you bring this to companies, say there's someone right now thinking about who they want to book for a speaker, and
Mm-hmm.
they hear that you help people in releasing resistance to adopt successful leadership strategies. So when someone is able to grow as a leader, especially in a business standpoint, it could be anywhere, but a business standpoint, you grow their confidence in such a way. And
Yeah.
I've got a gig I love bringing, which overlaps with that, with the blueprint to a confident leader, and
Ah.
teaching people the confidence it takes to be a leader, but how it starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're speaking to, whether it's women or businesses or students, whatever it is, how do you help people release resistance? Because I think that might be another key thing we can touch on for people listening right now to be able to move forward in their own lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this. So I'm really big on helping people whenever I'm in their space, whether it's in their space virtually or
Yeah.
in their space in person,
Mhm.
to be human again.
Mm.
And the way to release resistance is to kind of take off all the titles, take
Mhm.
off all the masks, and just be human again. And so it's really getting back in our bodies, getting back to neutral, And so I really do that by helping us consider, what do we actually desire. I love starting off wherever I go like that. What do you actually desire? Like, take
Mm.
all the things off, all the to dos, all the
Right.
tasks, all the things that you have going on. What do you desire in this space?
Mm.
And so when we really calm down and get to a place of like, what do I desire? A lot of times it's not what they've been saying they need to get done.
True. Yeah.
Many
Right.
times it is not what they say, what they need to get done. And I think getting to the root of that is what helps people release resistance, because they realize what the gap is. And so, for instance, I was speaking to someone about someone that's been a client, what they needed to get, done, what have you.
Mhm.
And, they were talking a lot about some of the things that they wanted to do in their business. And
Okay.
so as we were talking about some of the things that they wanted to do in their business, we could talk about revenue and we could talk about all of those things. But when we got down to the get down to the root of it,
Yeah. Mm.
they want to feel like they can be in their zone of genius
Mm.
when they're in their business. They want to be in
Right.
their zone of genius. They are confident that the revenue is going to come, but how can I not be in the weeds? I can
Mm.
be in the zone of genius. And when we get to that, then we can stop resisting some of the things that we can do, because I get locked in on what I say I wanted. And so
Mm.
now that I know that, hey, I don't want to be in the weeds, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about that. Let's talk
Right.
about
Yeah.
what do you know is keeping you in the weeds. And so, sometimes, not this client in particular, but other people could talk about, well, you know what, it's because I lack trust
Mm.
in myself to not micromanage, or I lack trust in myself, that not like trust, I lack giving myself permission
Okay.
to work less,
Mm.
right?
Right.
We talked about that a little earlier. Sometimes
Exactly.
we as leaders or high achieving people, especially if you grown a business to 100,000, hundreds of thousand, $1 million
Right.
businesses, and you've done all these different things, it can be really hard for you to give yourself permission to work less when
Mm.
working less gives
True.
you more. You almost don't even know what to do with yourself. And
Exactly.
so, but when you say that you want to be in your zone of genius, that can be a lot of things. And so I like to get down to, well, what is it that you actually desire? And I like people to talk about it both professionally and personally,
Perfect. Yeah.
because it does something to your personal life when you acknowledge that there is something that you actually desire personally. Because sometimes we can get so caught up in, I'm a leader of this company, I own a business. This has happened to me, and I'm sure it's happened to you,
Yep.
where my business identified me for so long
True.
that not working 60 hours a week, 50 hours a week, I had to be left with myself.
Mm.
And what does that mean for me? Right?
Right.
And some people say, and I say some people because we never know who they is, but
Right.
some people
Yeah.
say,
Sure.
they're like, give me a moment to like not work and not do this, and I'll have plenty of things to do. But when you are someone that feels like your business is like a chip on your shoulder, in the sense of like, I got to keep this going, I have a
Right.
payroll to keep, people's livelihoods are at stake. When you start putting so much pressure on yourself, you forget that
Mm.
you actually are human and want to live a life too. But you
Right.
can set yourself up to have all the things in place necessary to be productive in your business, or be productive as a leader, as well as enjoy your life. But
Yeah.
it is that resistance to change, like the resistance to shift into whatever negative emotions that are running you to
Mm.
something that is going to release more positive emotions. And we're just not used to feeling that. We're
Right.
used to being run by anxiety.
It's true.
We're used to be run by fear. But when you get to be run by curiosity or stillness, or all the things that are more associated with
Right.
positive emotions, we think
Mm.
of it as too soft, or we
Right.
think about it as not being productive. But trust and believe, I don't care what the internet says or what your friends are saying,
Yep.
there are people out here living that soft business life.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
They are living that soft business life, and I am like, I'm sold.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. Right. And I love how you open that up, because we have to get clear on what we truly want. And
Mhm.
I believe, and I teach my clients this just as much it's more of a spiritual aspect, but it connects
Yeah.
wholeheartedly in the sense of the desires of our heart are meant to be ours. They're yours for a
Absolutely.
reason. The dreams, the goals that we have are meant to be ours. But if we are so busy with the static of the world, you could say, or the static of our lives, or the stress
Yeah.
that we go through, the haze comes upon us and we forget what those desires are. So to
Yeah.
be able to stop at the beginning and get clear, all right, what do I truly want? Yes, in a professional standpoint, but even in a personal standpoint,
Absolutely.
right? We realize that I'd probably say personal is even more impactful than the professional because it's what
Agreed.
leads you to the professional.
Yes.
And so when we get clear on our heart's desire, we realize what we were called here to do. And when
Yes.
we follow that soul's purpose, I know I'm getting
Yeah.
deep for listeners right now, but take this to heart because it's the truth. When you realize what your soul's purpose is and you're following your heart's desires and it puts the pieces of the puzzle together for you, you start to walk in the confidence we touched on earlier. You start to walk in a joy. You start to walk, as Desiree touched on, these higher levels. You're no longer being operated by anxiety and fear. You're not being
Mm-hmm.
operated by these stressors of the world because you've overcome the stressors. Because the
Mm-hmm.
stresses are only there because you're searching for the outlets that are outside of yourself. And when you're
Yeah.
searching outside of yourself, you forget that the internal is your personal power, but
Mm-hmm.
it's your light. And when you
Yes.
cultivate that light, as you mentioned, is a stress-free business living, basically.
Yes.
It's your light's able to shine brighter. But that, I believe, is coming back to the present moment, what we touched on at the beginning. That's stillness. That's
Yeah.
confidence. That's
Mm-hmm.
realizing that the everything doesn't end if I take a rest today, we'll say, right?
Yeah.
That's bringing life together because you're no longer exerting your energy elsewhere. You're letting it come back to cultivate, and then you can shoot it in this direction or that direction, and then you see
Mm-hmm.
the results rapidly happen. And I think I
Yeah.
always think it's funny with entrepreneurs and whatnot, because entrepreneurs, it could be someone breaking out of the game right now. It could be someone an entrepreneur for the last 10, 15, 20, 35 years, whatever it is. But you see different levels of success and different speeds of success. And I
Mm-hmm.
love to dive into the mind of those people and realize, like, all right, why? Why? And
Yeah.
it comes back to the resistance piece you touched on,
Yeah.
where someone just starting out that's hitting hurdle after hurdle, are they creating that resistance themselves based around the fears, the beliefs, what they're stemming from? And then you feel and find people that come out the gate just as much and success after success after success. But you realize, like, well, what did they do? At the beginning, they could tell you that they got their mind right.
Yeah.
They cleared themselves and they're in a place of stillness. So to connect all the pieces together, when we come back to the present moment and we literally search for that heart's desire, that's tapping into your intuition. And when your
Yeah.
intuition tells you, like, hey, this is what you want and why you want it, but this is the one action step, much like Desiree touched on, the one action step you need to take to get there. And if
Yeah.
you take that action and don't talk yourself out of it, which we said
Right.
earlier, right, exactly, you end up realizing, oh, that was easy. And then,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And I sit there, I told my client this the other day. When I meditate, I sometimes sit there and whether it's just being in the moment or asking a question,
Yeah.
when I ask a question in that sense of stillness and that peace, your first thought is your answer because your intuition's talking to you and it's right there. It's at your moment. It's like when we pray to God and we sit there and we're waiting for an answer. Very often we got our answer, but because there was
Yeah.
so much haze and stress going on here, we miss it. So when we come back to that stillness and we ask, we receive. But then when we receive, are we going to take action with it, which we touched on earlier? Being
Yeah.
able to take action, your confidence grows in that standpoint. So Desiree, I know I just kind of took everything and just kind of like
That was
wrapped it all up, right?
good.
I love what you bring to these companies, these people that need it. And you're
Yeah.
providing such an answer to a need in the world. In all of that, I know I'm going to start to round this out to be respectful of your time, but in all of that, what is your kind of a new question? What is your favorite thing about this? Because you bring such a love and a light to people
Mm-hmm.
and you're growing yourself in that light. So what's the best part to you if there even is one?
You know what? I know it's hard to say one thing.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It is. It's hard to say one thing, but I think that the reason I still get activated when I do this work is because all of the work that I've done over the years still leads me to this one thing that I still feel excited about, and that
Mm,
is seeing people fulfill their fullest potential. Like that is my
right.
personal mission in life.
Awesome.
And when I see people light up
Mm,
about, oh, I really do have time to step away from the office more and spend time with my kids and my family, or oh, I really do have time to start that passion project and be a coach or be a consultant, and I can
right.
still work full time, or I can leave this job because I can give myself permission to do that. Or when
Right.
people have that light bulb moment, that is
Mm,
actually what gives me the satisfaction of the work that I do, and not because, oh my God, Desiree, you helped me. I don't really
mhm.
care
Yeah.
if it's because of something I said. Most times it's something about what they said.
Yeah. True.
They are
Right.
usually solving their own problems. I am
True.
there to ask them the questions, to give them the insight. And a lot of times they will find themselves saying the things out loud. And
Mm,
I enjoy seeing that transformation and just being able to, and I guess this is giving you more than one thing, but I guess it connects because
yeah.
I think being able to see people do that and recognize that so many people, no matter what industry they're from, no matter what walk of life, a lot of them come back to the same issues.
Mm,
And that gives me confidence in the sense of we don't have to have a million strategies and tips. You
right.
know, a lot of times people are dealing with the same core principle things,
Right.
and getting back to themselves is really the core of it all. When we get back to ourselves, we have the answers. We know what it is that we need to do. I'm a person of faith, so I believe,
Yep.
you know, coming back to that space of like, okay, what is God telling me right now?
Yep.
That is going to be helpful. And even if people are not spiritually inclined, you hear something. You have an intuition that you are just not tapping into.
Exactly.
If you get quiet enough,
Yep.
you know the answer. And a lot of
Exactly.
times, you know, like if I'm working with one-on-one people, some if they are spiritually inclined, or if I
Yep.
do talking that way, if they're not, it's totally
Nice.
fine. And either way, to me, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
when
Right.
you get quiet, you know your answer.
Exactly.
And we don't need to look for so many answers all over the place. What we need to is just trust the voice that we know we hear in our heads.
Yeah.
Not the one that, you know, sends us off on the edge. It's probably the same voice. But and I don't want, if you hear voices, you go find a therapist. Don't come on here saying that we told you to listen to voices. Like, and that's
Right.
not even that's like a serious announcement. Therapy is okay. I believe in it. On a serious note too, if you are considering, like, you know, what is it that you know that you need to do, I think it's, I love when I am able to help people remember that they have the answer,
Yes.
that they have the answer. And a lot of times it makes us have to trust the
Yep.
outcome, even if the answer is not what we have expected.
True.
And I think that that is the biggest thing. Like I said, this is the year that I'm coming back to myself and
Yeah.
coming back to what I said I wanted to do. And I feel like I've gotten a little astray, off course for some reason. Not off
Mhm.
course, but feeling off course, meaning that I felt like I needed to do something different
Okay.
because I am one of those people that has a lot of creativity. Like I have a dance company and I
Yeah.
did leadership training. I've done so many different things. And so there has been an edge. And I think this happens to a lot of people with
Yep.
multiple talents, or people that are creatives, that you feel pulled in so many different areas. But
Mhm.
I know, you know, in my heart of hearts, this is something I'm supposed to be
Yeah.
doing.
Mm.
And sometimes I didn't think what I was doing was good enough
Mm.
because I didn't do it the way that I've seen people grow in this
Okay.
area do it. And so
Mm.
sometimes I think it's something to be said about what was like the last set of instructions that you got
Yeah. I
for
gotcha.
your life, and have you attacked them?
It's a good
And
way to
if you
put it.
haven't, go do that.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to like start over. You can just actually, what is the last set of instructions? And instead of being distracted by all the things,
Yep.
go back to what you know. And like that is like kind of like where I am right now. It's like go back to what you know, Des. Like this is
Mm.
what you know, this is what you've heard. Have you done this? No, go do that.
Yep.
And just watch what happens as a result of just being obedient to the thing I know to do.
Yeah. Oh wow, I love all of that, and it's so powerful. So people, listen, I want you to take that. I want you to run with it, and just that right there, coming back to the instructions you just got, because as you said, the distractions are there. People will be told to walk this way, but then they'll run this way because
Right.
something changed or whatever. They didn't take action on the first instructions. That's so powerful. I think so many times, like we said earlier, we're living so far in front that we miss out what we're supposed to be finding here.
Yeah.
Right. And then I want to echo even further the step you're in right now, coming back to yourself essentially to and not even recalculating, but I think coming back to your energy so you can take more confidence in the area. I find that that in itself is you're coming back to a playful standpoint. And I think when we're
Yes.
trying,
Yes.
right, we're trying so hard to create,
Yeah.
and we're creative people. You mentioned that for yourself. I know that's for me too. We're creative people, but if we're so far focused on one area, and we start to feel the burnout coming in, as we touched on
Yeah.
earlier, but to be able to come back to a state of play, or
Yes.
if we're gonna stick in the spiritual sense, that childlike aspect that we're meant to
Yes.
live by, to have that energy, to be able to come back to that place and give yourself the time, that's when your ego can kind of fall and you start to
Yes.
transcend. You start to operate at a higher level, spiritually, higher self, everything like this. So you can come back to your creativity and things start to happen just like that because you are now
Yes.
more aligned to who you are meant to be. You're more aligned to God. You're more aligned to your source in that sense. And from that point, you are walking in your light. You're walking in your
Yes.
power. So you can walk through those doors that we're meant to walk through. So I love all of that, Desiree. That's so powerful. And
Yes.
I hope people take it. I got two final questions for you before we
Okay.
close this whole thing out. Right now, where can people find you? I know we touched on where the book is. We touched on Amazon. Let's go over all that again. But where can they follow you? If someone is watching right now and they want to book you for a gig, where can they find you in that sense too?
Yes. Well, my book is on Amazon, so we talked about that. And my website is www.desireecocroft.com. You can find out all the things. If you want to book me to speak, you can do it there. If you
Mhm.
want one-on-one coaching, you can do it there. If you want to talk about doing a VIP session, I do that as well. Those are the ways that I work with people. The consulting gigs that I have with specific companies, they simply email me or reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's usually
Okay,
how people find me for those types of gigs. But specifically speaking and coaching, you can go directly on my website and
perfect.
catch me for those things. Otherwise, LinkedIn, my email is hello@DesireeCocroft.com. LinkedIn are the streets that I'm in
There
for
you
the
go.
most
Okay.
part. LinkedIn and YouTube are the only two places I kind of play around. I've been playing around
Okay.
with TikTok a little bit lately, but
There you go.
LinkedIn is like my number one. YouTube is my number two right now. So that's where you
Okay.
can find me. My name is spelled
Perfect.
the same in both places.
Okay. No, that's perfect. Guys, all of those links are going to be in the credits of this video and the YouTube description. But final question, Desiree, what is a lasting message you want to leave with people? You touched on so many great points, whether it's the instructions or coming back to yourself or even giving yourself time and the confidence piece. What's a lasting message you want to put a final period on this with?
Ooh, I love this because it's actually the opener to one of my most popular keynotes. And
Okay.
no matter how many times I say it, it never gets old. So this is what I love to leave people with. You don't get to desire something different in your life and be the same person.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, period. Right there, right?
Yes, period. Mic drop.
That's awesome. I love it. People, you heard it
Yeah.
right there. Mic drop. But no, I love that, Desiree. That's perfect. I love that. It's a great way to tie this a bow on this entire thing. But guys, I thank you so much for tuning in. You can find all of Desiree's links below. I'm telling you, with everything we touched on, from every area, from your confidence, from the leadership qualities, from being able to decide for yourself and move forward into that direction and take action in that direction, from all the way to the instructions for yourself that you recently received that you might not have moved forward on. There's so many pieces throughout this talk that you can go back to, you can utilize for yourself and move forward. But if you're looking for something deeper, if you're looking for that one-on-one aspect in everything Desiree touched on, whether you are looking for someone to come in and speak to your group, your company, whatever it is, reach out to her. I know we have so many people on here, but we've never had someone like Desiree bring this energy, bring the light that she has. Every individual is so different, but she brings a light that only she can bring. If something resonated with you throughout this talk that, know what, I want to talk to her. As she said, reach out to her, send an email, find her on LinkedIn, find her on YouTube for that matter, comment on what she brings to the table, but start the conversation. Let that be the little action step you take so you can be the key point that then impacts everyone else around you because you brought her to the table. Guys, reach out to her. I'm telling you, you're going to find something great about it. But I thank you so much for tuning in. Please
Thank
like
you.
this message on YouTube and hit that thumbs up button below. Share this message to someone who you feel needs to hear it. If at any time throughout this video someone popped into your mind, you're like, oh, they might need to hear this too. That is your sign, your intuition, much like we touched on, to share it to them, to help them. Not to share Desiree, not to share me, not to share anything we bring to the table, but to share a lending, helping hand to them. Please share it to them so we can help more people. And please subscribe to Once a Week if you have not already. We are, at the time of this video, 19.9 thousand. I want to break 20,000 before we get to the new year. Please subscribe, guys. I'm loving that number going up every week with the people we bring on. I thank you for being here. Desiree, it's been an absolute blast. I
Thank
cannot wait.
you.
When we were talking, I have a feeling that I don't know if it's a stage you and I will grace together, but we align in a lot of key areas. I think there's an
Yeah.
audience out there that will receive so much light from what we bring to the table. I cannot wait to have you on here again.
Oh, I love that.
It's
Thank you. It's been a
been a
pleasure.
blast. Guys, go check out our website for coaching consulting. If at anything we touched on, you're interested in my coaching aspects or my speaking aspects, go to billygLifeCoaching.com. I'll be right there for you. You can set up a free call with me. I'd love to talk to you. But Desiree, thank you. And the audience, I thank you for being here and listening. On to next week. Thanks, Desiree.
Thank you.
you know I've been around and doing it, but now it's my time to shine and start proving it. I'm losing it, I'm moving it. The city is where I'm made, Bostonian flow, I kick it a back day. Yeah, I got game, God in a fan way. We the city of the champs, every sport we play. Spit wetter than the harbor, yeah, I'm flowing like the Charles. I be speeding on this beat, call it Turnpike Miles. Yeah, it's Boo Boo signing on, John to the Hancock, and I'm always key, I'm ready to unlock. I be doing